I'm Don Katz. I'm the founder and the CEO of Audible. I'm also not German, but my grandparents were German, and so I feel like I'm an honorary German. But so my job is being the person who runs Audible, which has become as we know, very large company and with a very important division here in Germany. I was a writer for 20 years, a professional writer. I started in London as the Rolling Stone magazine correspondent there, covering politics in Europe and Asia and Africa and in Northern Ireland in the 1970s. And I became a writer of, published 5 books and had a fantastic run as a writer until I finally got a large book advance to study the digital media future 20 years ago. And that became Audible. I became a jogger, like a lot of people, when jogging took off in the 80s. And I began to realize that if I could run 6 or 7 or 8 miles, I was spending all this time when my mind was free, but my body was occupied. I couldn't read, I couldn't look at a screen, and I just remember finding out that there were rental services in the United States where you could buy a box or rent a box of about 35 tapes and listen to literature while I jogged. And I used to put 3 or 4 tapes in my belly pack and jog through the west side of Manhattan. In 1994, I became fairly obsessed with what I'd learned about digital technology, which was that these analog signals would be compressed into digits. This is called signal processing, is the physics of it. And I began to understand that you could package sound, and then I began to understand that the size of the signal, full spectrum music, was very large, and talking was not very much bigger than text. And at that point, text was going through the new networks as beginnings of email and the like. And I suddenly began to think, well, what if you could take these audio books I would jog with in the park and create an address to the inefficiencies of the publishing model? And that became, with my college roommate, who was a supercomputer designer in Silicon Valley, we came up with what became the first digital audio player, the Audible mobile player, which was commercialized in 1997. Which was only 2.5 years after I got the idea, for Audible, and it's now in the Smithsonian Institution as the first networked digital device, and it came out 4.5 years before the iPod. We were way too early for the market. When we had the Audible mobile player out, people could not understand the very concept of getting content as a download. People didn't even know what a download was when we came out in 1997. They mistrusted the e-commerce world. They were beginning to be, people wanted your credit card online, no one knew what that meant. It just wasn't something that people were ready to understand, and we were so far the pioneer. Most companies like that die. Anyways, in those dark days in 2002, I got a call from Steve Jobs, who admired our technology. He admired the way our ability to send optimized files that you could navigate, and that the file actually was bookmarked back up on your computer on multiple devices. And he called this round tripping, and he was very interested in talking about having this technology in this thing he told me about called an iPod. Both of my careers have been incredibly satisfying. They were both very much working without a net, the English phrase that, meaning that you're very risky because there's no security whatsoever, and I thought both of them were kind of entrepreneurial in that you really have to believe in yourself to do these things, and it's not for everyone. I had a hugely supportive wife and family who just always were willing to live like this kind of with me. So I'm actually thinking my next career I want to be a professional ice hockey player. I do wish I could thank every Audible customer, and I know we also have had customers from the very early days, and whenever I meet them I say, I wish we could have paid you to be our customer in the early days, because it wasn't easy to use. I just am sort of grateful that people have this loyalty. Our customers tell other people about their experience, and they tell us that their lives are better because of something that we've invented, and nothing inspires us to do better than the feedback we get from customers around the world, and they're everywhere at this point, and it makes me feel very happy.